And it's saying the equation, which statement is true about the statements. Function A has a greater rate. So we have to find the slope, right? The rate of change. So I think I can do this. Yeah. So for A, the rate of change is 5/4. So rate of change 5/4. For B, I have to find the rate of change. So you can take 2 points, right? So we can subtract. So let me pick 1 point here, 1.5. 5, comma 1.5, right? So that's this point right here. And I can do the other point, 10 and 3. Right? You could have just used a table and do it right there. But so if we do that and we subtract, right? So again, you're basically doing, I would find the slope. So if you did it on table and you found the difference here and found the difference, that's the same thing. So, but I'm going to do it the other way. So y2, so let's just make this y2, x2, let's make this x1, y1. So if we subtract 3 minus 1.5, right, and then we're going to subtract 10 minus 5 at the bottom, we get 1.5 over 5. So obviously function A has the greater rate of change, so function A has a greater change than, because 1.5, but the rate of change for B is not 3.3. The rate of change of B is 1.5 over 5, so definitely that's not it. So let me just make it small. Rate of change, B has a greater change, no. And then B is incorrect because the rate of change for B is not it's not 3.3, so that's out. So C says function A has a greater rate of change. 5/4 is the same thing as 1.25, right? And then the rate of change for B, if you divided 1.5 divided by 5, right, because that's what we got, is 0.3. So the only answer, the extension is blocked. Okay. The answer would be C. Let's submit that. Hey, I got it correct. 2. Another question, same thing. Actually, let me try something. Oh no, mine's not a touch screen. Okay. No, I don't have a touch screen. So I'm going to have to do the same thing. So again, let's do here, right? This is y2 minus y1. So if we do, you know what? Sorry. Let me pick this number here. 4 minus 0 is 4, and 2 minus 0 is 2, right? So this is the change in y, and this is the change in x. So remember that slope is the difference in y values over the difference in x values, right? The change in y, change in x, and we get 4/2, which equals 2. So the function A has a rate of change of 2. Function B, pick 2 points, and obviously you I hope you pick 0, and this one's 6 and 4. So for this one, hopefully you count, right? This is your, remember, when I say changing y, changing x, I literally mean y2 minus y1 and x2 over x1. But when we have a graph, we can sort of cheat and just count the units, right? So if you look at the x values, right? So if you I count the difference in x value is 4. So, and the difference in x values up and down, it's 1, 2, it's 6, right? Because each unit is 6. Be careful how you count. So it becomes 3/2 or 1.5. So function A has a rate of change of 2, and function B has a rate of change, sorry, I meant to write 1 1/2, right, or 1.5. So the rate of change of A is less than rate change of B. Well, let's look at the answers. Rate change, yeah, the rate change of A is greater than the rate change of B. Sorry, let me just go back. Let me get from the answers. So A is greater than B, okay? So A is greater than B, rate change of A is equal, the rate change of A is equal to the rate change. No, so the rate of change of A is less. No, the rate of change of A is greater, so we want B. Right, so if you go back to this, B is what we want because the rate of change of A was 2 and the rate of change of B was 1.5. So if they want us to show us our thinking, just to show you thinking. I don't have a touch screen, so I'm going to just write something down like this. can I do actually? Oh, look at that. Ooh. So, hang on. So I can say that A, the rate of change for A was 2, and the rate of change for B was 3 over 2, right? So 1.5. So let's see if they accept this as word. No, what was it? We put B. And we got it correct. Oh, look at that. So Chris and Sam earn money shoveling snow as described below. The amount of money Chris earns. So let me write that Chris is represented by 8 equals 8.25x, which means he makes this much money. And then the total show. The table shows how much Sam works. So Sam. So for Chris, let me start again. So we have two guys. Chris, what he makes is represented by this equation here. So that tells us that he makes $8.25 per hour. Sam, his earnings is represented by the table. So let's write Sam's rate of change. Let's get 2 points. Let's use this point and this point. So we have the point 430. So 4 hours to make $30, and then 6 hours to make $45. So we can use this, find our slope or his rate of change, and then we're going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. So we get 45 minus 30 over 6 minus 4, and we get 15 minus 2. 6 minus 4 is 2, and 15 over 2 is 7.5. So who makes a little bit? So his equation, his rate of change for Sam would be 7.5. So who makes more? Chris makes more. So Sam earns 0.75 more than Chris. No, he doesn't. Sam actually makes less. Chris earns 0.75 more per hour than Sam. That's correct. Look, Chris makes 8.25. Sam makes 7.5 an hour. So that's a difference of 75 cents. And we're going to just choose B. Ooh, 3 for 3. Which proportional relation has the greatest rate of change? Okay, so can they make this any smaller? This one is y equals 7x. Let me just make it bigger, right? So, oh my God. So we're going to compare. So let's find the rate of change for A, the rate of change 7x. For B, it would be, I'm going to have to do the slope. So 8 minus 0 is 8. That's the difference in y. And then in x, it'd be 2. So that gives me 4. So far, A is the winner. B, the value of y increases by 12 for every increase of 4 in the x value. So we have x is 4, y is 12. Okay, so because it's proportional, we know that the rate of change here is 3. And this one, the rate of change, so again, pick 2 points, 0, 0. Let me pick another point here that I can actually see. Let me pick this point right here. So if you count, again, slope is the change in y values over change in x values, right? So let's go and count this. What's this? The difference in y values going up and down here is from 0 to 6. And then from here to 1, here is just 1. So it ends up being 6. So the greatest of all of them is letter 8. A. Yay, we are correct again. 5. Which proportional relation has the greatest rate of change? We already did that. Now I'm sure you're thinking. Let me just write something here. This was y equals 7x. This was y equals 6x. They're all proportional, so they all, meaning they're all proportional. They all go through the origin, right? So their equations, all of these, all 4 equations will be y equals something x. I forgot what this was. This was 4x, I believe, right? And here's my y-intercept. This is plus 0. We don't actually have to write it, but that's what it says. And this one was, I believe, 3x. So which one has the greatest rate of change? A. And I don't know why that question repeated. Whoa! Sorry, A. Oh no, I made a mistake. First gas station, it's 2.80 per gallon, so $2.80 per gallon. Okay. Second gas station, they want us to find what the price per gallon is, and they give us a little hint here. So they said that. So here I'm going to create a table. No, let me create a table, and 2.5 gallons. I pay $8.30, so that's 1 point on my graph. And then another point on my graph would be 5 gallons, and I pay $16.60. So let's find the slope here. So for the first one, I don't need to do anything, right? It's already given to me. This is slope, the rate of change. For this one, I have to. It's the second gas station, I have to. Right, so they give me this information, and I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. And let's do, so it's 1660 minus 830 over 5 minus 2.5, right? So, and if you do that, you get 830 over 2.5. And if you divide 830 by over 2.5, sorry, I should have proportional. 8.30 divided by 2.5, you get $3.32. So in the second gas station, the price is $3.32 per gallon. So how much money per gallon would Billy save by going to less expensive? He would save, well, what's the difference? 3.32 minus 2.80, and that's going to give us, he's going to 3.32 minus 2.80, it's going to give us 0.52. Answer 0.52. And then I'm going to actually erase this. Erase. How do you erase this? No. 0.52. Much better. Submit. Okay. 7. Look at that. I can take that graph. Now can I make it bigger? Right. This is not easy. What is it that a dog will collect the data? Which dog runs at the bigger speed? What's the difference per second between the dogs of the speed of the two dogs? Okay, so first dog over here, the one to the right, left. Right. Wish I knew how to make that bigger. I can barely see. So we have to find the slope, the rate of change. Dog A. So again, you pick 2 points, and you could have just done 112 minus 56, right, over 4 minus 2, and that's going to give us 56 over 2, which is it's going to give us 28 feet. There's no way. He runs 56 feet in 2 seconds. Oh. All right, so that's dog A, 28 feet per second. I got right. And dog B over here, pick 2 points. Well, they give you 2 points, and they give you this point right here, and it says that in 8 seconds he can run 200. Right? But we want we want to see what the rate of change here. But it's proportional, right? So I'm going to pick the other point here. So, and you can simply just divide 200 divided by 8. And 200 divided by 8 is 25. What's the difference in feet per second? The difference is 3. Yikes. What is this? We have a store B. I don't know what about store B and A. Okay, so the equation y equals 3.5x represents store A, and I'll put a little a over here, for yards of fabric. Okay, so every yard of fabric at store A is $3.50. in store B, we need to find the unit rate. And the unit rate is a slope, and because it's proportional, okay, so let's do store B. You can simply pick 2 points, and they give us 2 points. So we need to find the slope. So I'm just going to use this value, 16.5 minus 5.5, right? y2 minus y1, and then the x value is 6 minus 2. So the second store, 16.5 minus 5.5 is 11 over 4, and that's going to give us $2.75 per yard. So what is the unit rate for the price per yard at store B? Well, the unit rate is 2 every yard in the second store is $2.75. Okay, so we're gonna skip this one because it's the same exact question. This one is, we have a hose, okay, and it's proportional again, right? So and we have 2.00 and the other point, so we have 2.00 and the other point would be, can we find another point? Yeah, 2 and 12 looks like a point right here. Okay, and then a total of 110 gallons of water can flow in hose B. So hose A, if you did a rate of change, would be 12 minus 0 over 2 minus 0. Notice that we didn't have to do that, but we did anyway. So it's 6 gallons per minute. Okay. Hose B, it's 110 gallons of water can flow through in 10 minutes. So hose B, if you did the rate of change, would be 110 divided by 10, and that gives us 11. So hose B is, the water flow is 11 gallons per minute. How much faster is hose B? Hose B. So this is hose A, this is hose B, this is hose A. So the difference would be 11 minus 6. So hose B is 5 gallons per minute more. So the answer is just 5 gallons. Okay. What does this say? A cook uses 2.5 cups of flour for each ounce of butter in the recipe. Which graph represents the relationship between the amount of flour and the amount of... Okay, so it says that he uses 2.5 cups of flour per ounce. All right, so we got to look at the graph. Can I write this any worse? 2.5 cups of flour per ounce, and look at the graph, and the x-axis is the ounce and the y-axis is the flour. So we got to look for a graph that has 1, where 1, okay, so 1 ounce would be the x value, and 2.5 would be your y value, right? So look for which graph has 1 ounce and 2.5. Well, it's not this guy. That's gone. Definitely not this guy. This one is not it, because that says 0 ounces. You already have 2.5 of flour. That doesn't make any sense. So the only one that's left is here. And if you look here, if you look at 1, right, if you can make it bigger on your screen. So at 1, it looks like you use 2.5 ounces of flour. So the answer is C. Sorry, D. Which equation represents the graph of a line that passes through the x-intercept at 9, 0 and the y-intercept at 0, -5? So let me just draw this out. So we have A, and we have 2 points. The x-intercept is 9, 0, so right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 0. And the y-intercept, right, is where this line crosses the y-axis. It crosses 0, -5. Let's make it right here. Okay. This is 0, -5. So we have a line, That's crossing like that. And they want the equation of the line. Well, what do we know so far? Well, I know what the y-intercept is. Remember, our equation of the line, slope-intercept form, comes in this format, mx plus b. This is your y-intercept. This is your slope. So I know that the b has to be -5, right? It's crossing the y-axis right here, and that's -5. So I know it's y equals something x minus 5. So let's look at the multiple choice. They're all -5, so they're all possibilities. Now, to find the slope, we're going to do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So let's get the 2 points. Let me write the 2 points. So one point is 0, -5. The other point is 9, 0. So I'm going to call this x1, y1. I'm going to call this x2, y2. Let's do the slope. The slope is y2 minus y1 is 0 minus -5. x2, 9 minus 0. Negative and a negative is a positive. I get 5 over 9. It has to be positive because this line goes up. Okay, so A is gone, right? A is gone because it's negative slope. It doesn't make sense. And C is gone. So it's between B and D. And we want 5 over 9, so it looks like D is the correct answer. 13. The graph of a line shown on the coordinate plane. Okay. I guess they want to know which of these equations matches the line. Okay, so I'm guessing that's what the question. Well, let's start with what we know. I know that the y-intercept is 1. So y equals mx plus b. I already know what this b is. The b is positive 1 because this line crosses the y-axis of positive 1. So I know that much. So I know that d is gone, b is gone. And then I got to find the slope. Well, to find the slope, pick another point. We have a point here. Let's pick this point right here. And we can find a slope. So we have a point that's called 6 and 4. And we have a point here that's called 0 and 1. Yeah? Let's do the slope. Y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So if you find the difference in y values, it's going to be 3. And the difference in x values is going to be 6. And 3 over 6 is the same thing as a half. So that's our slope, 1/2. So now I can go back here and go write the equation slope-intercept form. M is half x, right? The slope we just found is 1 over 2x plus 1. Is there anything that looks like that? There. 14, okay, again, same type of question. This one we're going to do a little bit differently. If I can track this, I can. So notice that they all have 4, 4, 4, 4 as the y-intercept. Is that true? Yeah, look. This line right here is crossing the y-axis at positive 4. So y equals mx plus b. The b is positive 4 because it's crossing the y-axis at positive 4. So we know that much. So now we have to find the slope, right? This number right here, something x. Now what you can do here, and what I'm going to do is, so I'll change colors. Can I change colors? I don't know how to change color. But I can do this. We have 2 points. And when we do y2 minus y1 and x2, we're literally counting this, right? The difference in y value. So here's a point, and here's 2 points on the x-axis. So let me count the x because it's smaller. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So x2 minus x1 is going to give me 4, if you can count yourself. And then the y2 minus y1 is this. It's the height here, right? Difference in y value. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 over 4, which simplifies to 5 over 2. So that's my slope, 5 over 2. And it's positive because it's going up. Is there anything that looks like this? 5 over 2x plus 4. Yeah. C, D. 15. What is the equation of the line? Well, I would always start with the y-intercept because that eliminates probably half. Y-intercept is here, 8. So if I'm going to build my equation, slope-intercept form from scratch. We look at the slope. Sorry, we look at the y-intercept. And it's telling you that's +8. This line crosses the y-axis at +8 right here. So that allows me to cross B, allows me to cross D out. Now, now it's going to be y equals something x plus 8. Now, first of all, it's a negative slope, so I know it's going to be negative, something negative. So both A and B are negative, so now, well, I'm going to have to do some work. All right, so like I told you before, if you want to do here on the graph, right, so here I have 2 points, this point and this point, and let's do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So you can do it 2 ways. You can do the point, and you have 0 and 8, and this point is 10 and 0. Right, and then you can assign this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2, and you can do y2, or you can count. This would be the change in y, and this would be the change in x. So if you look at your x, right, the difference between this point and this point would be 10 units. So 10. And then the difference in the y values from here to here would be 8 units. So we get 8 over 10. And 8 over 10 simplifies 4 over 5. I make sure it's negative because the slope is coming down. So the only answer that looks like that is A. On the coordinate plane, the graph of a line passes through the origin and the point. What is the equation of the line? Okay, so it passes through the origin, which means it goes through 0, 0. And it passes through 10, 14. If it goes through the origin, it's proportional. Okay, but I'm going to go through the whole process. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. We can find slope. 14 minus 0, 10 minus 0. The slope is 14 over 10, which simplifies to 7 over 5. So y equals, we just find the slope, so it's 7 over 5x, and what's the, and it goes through the origin, so what's my intercept? My intercept is +0, but we don't need to write that, so it just becomes y equals 7/5x. Is there anything that looks like that? Yes, there is, right here, B. Another, very repetitive, so it's, if I look at this, it's a negative slope, so automatically I'm going to cross this guy out and this guy out. Let's try to save some time. Pick 2 points. Well, one of the points is here. Right, it goes through 0, 0. Let me pick another point that is actually, that I can actually see and know the value of, and here's the point right here. Right, so, and we can make a right angle triangle here. So find, and here's y2 minus y1, and this is my x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 would be this distance right here, which would be just simply 1. And x2 minus x1 would be the difference, right? This distance right here, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 units. But remember that this is negative, so the slope is negative 1/4, and the only one that has that is D. What is the slope of a point that passes through 2, 2, and -1, -2? So we want the slope. So x1, y1, x2, y2. Doesn't matter who you make that. Who you make x2 or who you make x1. So So let's do the change in y value. So it's -2 minus 2, and then -1 minus 2 as well on the bottom. Right? So we get -4 and -3, and negative divided by negative is a positive, so the answer is 4 over 3. That was simple. So the points 4, 1 and x -6 lie on the same line. If the slope of the value is 1, what is the value of x? How can we do this? Well, we write point 4, 1, and the other one, I'm missing a point. but we have the slope here. Right, so if I put this in the equation so far, this is what it looks like. So it's y equals mx plus b. Y equals the slope is 1, or 1x plus b. Right, we can find the y-intercept. Okay, so pick a value. Let me use I'm going to use 4, 1. And I'm going to plug it in here. So I get, remember this is my x and this is my y. So I get 1 equals 1 times 4 plus b. 1 equals 1 times 4 is 4 plus b minus 4 on both sides. And b equals negative 3. So now I'm going to start building my equation. So my equation is now 1, y equals 1x, right? Because they told me the slope was 1, minus 3. So now I can use this to find this guy. Right? What happens when y equals negative 6? What is the value of x? Well, go back here. Right? So we're looking for this guy over here. Let me use the equation, and then I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to plug in negative 6 for y. So when y is negative 6, let's find x. So 1x, let me just write x instead of 1x. Minus 3. I'm going to add plus 3 to both sides. That goes away, and x equals negative 3. What is this question? The hypotenuse of similar triangles are determine whether the slope of a line is constant between the points C and D. I can't even see the point C and D. I'm just going to make this bigger. Slope of the line K is constant between points C and D. No, honestly, I can't see. I don't know how to make this bigger using my thing here, my pad. That's line K. Well, it is constant because it's a straight line. Okay. That's all I had to do. Oh. What's the equation of the line that passes? Okay, so again, now you should be very tired of these. So negative 3, comma 0.5. And the other point is 3, negative 0.5. So let's make this x1, y1. Let's make this x2, y2. Let's find the slope. So first we're going to do negative 0.5 minus 0.5, and then 3 minus negative 3. And we get that our slope is negative 0.5 minus 0.5 is negative 1. 3 minus negative 3 is just 6. So our slope, let's start building, is negative 1 over 6 x, but we don't have b yet. We gotta find b. So to find b, you pick a point, and we have a point. So let's pick this guy right here. Let's use the point 3, negative 0.5. Let's substitute y with negative 0.5 and x with 3 to find b. So we get negative 0.5 equals negative 1/6 times 3 plus b. Negative 0.5 equals, what is this? 3 negative 0.5 because a half plus b. And b well, we're going to add 0.5 to both sides. We get b equals 0. So this is the y-intercept is, so it's telling us that the y-intercept is 0, which means this line goes through the orange. So our final equation looks like y equals negative 1 over 6 x, and that's it. We don't have to write plus 0. Four and 2. What is that? 4 and 2. 0, negative 1. So x2, y2, x1, y1. So our slope is going to be 2 minus negative 1. 4 minus 0. So the slope is 2 minus negative 1 is 3 over 4. So just looking at the multiple choice, I'm not even going to do anything. The only one that has a slope 3/4 is the second one. what's the equation line that has, so y equals mx plus b, right? And it passes and has a y-intercept of 2. So let's build the equation first. So the first thing that I know of, let me retrace this. And let me explain what's going on here. Here's an equation. Here's the graph here. Passes to the point 4 and 12. So let's make this 4 and let's make 12 over here. So there's one point. And it has a y-intercept of -2. So on the y-axis, and remember this is the y-axis, this is -2. So there's this line that's currently looks like this. It passes from -2 on the y-axis, and it also passes to the point 412. Okay, and they want the equation of the line. Can we find the slope? Yeah, we can. So do we have 2 points? Yes. One of the points 12 and 4, and the other point here is 0, -2. x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to go, slope is 4 minus -2, 12 minus 0. 4 minus -2 is 6, and 12 minus 0 is 12. So simplify that, it makes the slope a half. And I did something wrong. I did wrong. What's the equation of the line? Why are none of this? 4 and 12. That's because Mr. Cho wrote this incorrectly. Sorry. This point here should have been 4 and 12. So m equals y2, which is 12 minus y1. So it's 12 minus -2 over 4 minus 0. And we get 14 over 4, which is the same thing as 7 over 2. And the only one that has 7 over, I'm not even going to do anything else. The only thing that has 7 over 2 is this one, so that would be the correct one. And we already have the y-intercept, right? So the equation is going to be 7 over 2x, and what's our y-intercept? -2. All right. Do you want to know which equation represents this guy here? Okay. Well, let's do, what's the y-intercept? So the y-intercept, b, is -2. So is there any equation that has a -2? Well, we have a and b. And is the slope positive or negative? It's positive. So let me bring this guy here. So the y-intercept right here is going through -2. So this is garbage and this is garbage. And then just looking at this, I know that my slope has to be positive because it's going up from left to right. Look at A is positive 2 over 5, and then C is -2 over 5. Well, we don't want this guy. We want this guy because it's a positive slope and it goes through -2. So the final answer is A. Okay, I got 23 or 24. All right, and that's it.